The Lost Gospel of Mary and Jhon. After the resurrection, the disciples gathered together, feeling lost in the absence of their teacher. They spoke among themselves, confused about how to carry on the mission that the Savior had entrusted to them.
Brothers and sisters, what are we to do now? The Lord has left us. His words were full of mystery, and we do not fully understand his teachings.
It was then that Mary Magdalene, who had been silent, stepped forward.
Do not be troubled, for the Lord has given us all that we need. His teachings were not just for the body, but for the spirit. He revealed many things to me, and if you wish, I will share with you what he told me in secret.
The disciples looked to her, eager for understanding. Then Mary stood up, greeted them all, and said to her brothers,
Do not weep, and do not grieve or be in doubt, for his grace will be with you all and will protect you. But rather, let us praise his greatness, for he has prepared us and made us into men.
When Mary said this, she turned their hearts to the good, and they began to discuss the words of the Savior.
Sister, we know that the Savior loved you more than the rest of women. Tell us the words of the Savior which you remember, which you know, but we do not, nor have we heard them.
What is hidden from you I will proclaim to you.
And she began to speak these words to them.
I saw the Lord in a vision, and I said to him, Lord, I see you now in this vision.
And he answered,
Blessed are you, for you seek with a pure heart. Know this, Mary, the soul, when it departs from the body, does not remain in the world. It ascends to the realms above. As it passes through each realm, it faces powers who try to bind it to ignorance, desire, and the distractions of the world. But the awakened soul cannot be bound, for it knows its true origin.
At this, the Lord revealed to Mary the existence of the Pleroma, the fullness of the divine from which all emanations originate.
The soul belongs to the realm of light, which is the true home. It is from the Pleroma that the eons emerged, including Sophia, who in her yearning to create, unknowingly birthed the flawed ruler of the material world, the demiurge.
And I said to him,
Lord, how does the soul ascend?
And the Lord answered,
It must first pass through the realm of ignorance. When the soul is free of the body, it is met by the powers of this world who seek to bind it. The first of these is ignorance, who asks the soul, Where are you going? You belong to the world, to the material realm.
But the soul, remembering the teachings of the Savior, replies,
I am from the realm above, and I do not belong to this world.
And the power of ignorance is defeated.
The material world is not the true creation. The Savior showed me that it was created by the demiurge, a being who believes himself to be God. But he is blind to the fullness of the Pleroma. The soul, however, belongs to the divine realm, and must ascend beyond the realm of the demiurge. The soul continues its journey, and next it encounters the power of desire. This power seeks to pull the soul back to the world, saying, Return to the world, for there your desires will be fulfilled.
But the soul, having learned the truth, replies,
My desires are not of this world. I seek the light of the true one.
And the power of desire is left behind.
And after it has overcome desire, the soul encounters the third power, which is the power of wrath. Wrath seeks to instill fear, saying to the soul, You are lost. There is no path forward, only suffering.
But the soul speaks, saying,
I am not lost, for I know the way to the one who is beyond all powers.
And wrath is defeated, and the soul ascends further.
The rulers of this world are but reflections of the ignorance of the demiurge. They trap souls in cycles of desire, fear, and ignorance. But the soul that has knowledge, or Gnosis, is able to break free from their grasp.
Chapter 5. The Return to the Divine.
Mary continued sharing the revelations the Savior had given her, saying, After the soul has passed through the powers of the world, it reaches the fullness of the light. There, it is no longer divided or confused, but is united with the One. In this place there is no suffering, no fear, and no separation. The soul knows itself as it truly is, and it rests in the eternal light.
When Mary had said this, she was silent, for it was up to the disciples to contemplate the meaning of her words. The disciples marveled at the wisdom of her words, realizing that the journey of the soul was not just one of individual salvation, but a return to the Pleroma, the divine realm beyond all earthly understanding. Chapter 6, the challenge of Peter.
Peter, troubled by the depth of her revelations, spoke. Sister, how can it be that the Savior revealed these things to you and not to us? Were we not also his disciples?
Mary replied, Brother Peter, do not let the flesh deceive you. The Lord speaks not to the flesh but to the Spirit. The Spirit does not concern itself with whether one is male or female, for in the Pleroma we are all one.
Levi, seeing the truth of her words, said, Peter, we cannot question the wisdom of the Savior. If the Savior revealed these things to Mary, it was for a reason. Let us not harden our hearts, but listen with understanding.
Peter remained silent, though he struggled to accept what Mary had said. Chapter 7, the wisdom of the Savior.
Mary continued, sharing more of what the Savior had revealed to her. The Savior said to me, The rulers of this world are blind. They do not know the fullness of the Pleroma, for they were created in ignorance. But the soul that awakens to its true nature transcends these rulers and returns to the realm of the light.
The disciples began to understand that the true battle was not against the flesh, but against the ignorance of the material world and the false rulers who sought to keep the soul imprisoned. Chapter 8, the nature of sin.
The disciples asked Mary, But what of sin? How shall we overcome it? Mary answered, The Savior told me, Sin is not real in the way the rulers claim it to be. Sin is ignorance, ignorance of the soul's divine origin. When the soul remembers its true nature, the rulers lose their hold and sin is dissolved. Sin exists only in the illusion of the material world, and when that illusion is broken, the soul is free.
The disciples began to see that salvation was not through external rituals, but through the awakening of the inner light within each soul. Chapter 9, the path of knowledge.
Mary continued to teach them, saying, The Savior revealed to me that knowledge, Gnosis, is the key to salvation. It is not by the law or by external actions that we are saved, but by knowing the truth of the divine realm. The rulers have created a false world to bind the soul, but knowledge of the Pleroma, the fullness, will set us free.
The disciples listened, understanding that knowledge of the divine was the only path to true liberation. Chapter 10, the eternal light.
Mary concluded, The light that is within you is eternal. It is the same light that comes from the Pleroma, the fullness of the divine. When you remember this light, you will not be lost, for it is your connection to the One. The rulers cannot extinguish it, for it is beyond their power.
The disciples, now understanding more fully, thanked Mary for her wisdom.
Levi said, You have revealed to us the hidden wisdom of the Savior. We will carry this knowledge with us and share it with the world.
Mary smiled and said, Go forth in peace and remember always the light within you. It will guide you back to the fullness of the divine.